Hey everybody, I'm Richie. It's a chilly day here in Minnesota, but it's a perfect day for smoking salmon. And you don't need much, as you can see. And also our good friend Billy Smith over at Bearcast was kind enough to jump on a call to walk us through some tips and some tricks so that we can do this in the comfort of our own home, even without a smoker. So let's dive in and see what we can make. So you can do all this over the course of 24 hours, but first thing first, we gotta dial in our brining recipe. We're gonna be doing a 1 part salt and sugar to 6 part water ratio. And Billy's got a really good tip for testing the salinity of your brine.
If you're brining a little bit of fish, start with a dime. Get that egg floating to the size of a dime. Make sure that the fish is floating, it's not sitting on the bottom. So you get perfect salt absorption from the top and the bottom of the fish.
So now that our fish is floating, we're gonna pop it in the fridge for 8 hours and let it actually brine. So the next morning, we're gonna move to the second phase, which is pellicle formation. It's incredibly important.
You have to have a way to extract a certain amount of moisture so that the product doesn't spoil. And that's all part of the pellicle process, which is a dry coat to the top of the fish that'll hold the cure and the moisture within the product.
So after 8 hours in the fridge, it should have a tackiness to the surface of the fish, and this is gonna help the smoke absorption as well. Now let's head outside and see what this is actually gonna look like. So if you have a covered grill, great, use that. If not, use 2 baking sheets and put a rack between them, and it works perfectly. So you're gonna have your pre-soaked chips and then a little reserve of dried chips in case you need that. And you're gonna lay those pre-soaked chips down on the bottom of the pan, and then your fish goes on the rack. Now you're gonna need a thermometer so that you can gauge the internal temperature of the chamber. For this first stage of the smoking, place it right next to the fish. Cover it up. Now turn your grill on super low and make sure the flame is lined up just where your chips are. You want an indirect heat source here for your fish. And for the first hour and a half to 2, we're still developing pellicles. You want to keep your temperature low, around 110 degrees.
And then at the point where it becomes dry to the touch, now you've developed a pellicle. Then you start to work for your smoke absorption within the product.
So after 2 hours, just like Billy said, we're gonna move to the smoking phase. We're gonna increase the temperature of the grill slowly. We're gonna activate those wood chips. We're gonna start to get some smoke. You're gonna stick your thermometer into the thickest part of the fish so that we can monitor the internal temperature. And we're gonna increase all the way up to about 150 degrees. Now don't worry too much about the amount of smoke that you're getting.
Some people want a super dense smoke, but it's not necessary. You know, it's more about making sure that you have the recipe down correct and then putting a light amount of smoke on it so that it's not overpowering the product.
Now, as we enter the final stages, you can add a little bit of sugar. I'm just diluting a little bit of honey with water, and I'm just brushing that a couple times over the top of the fish to give it some beautiful color and sweetness. Then we're gonna cover it back up, and once we hit 145 degrees internal temperature, we're gonna hold that at 17 minutes to eliminate the formation of any unwanted bacteria. Now after these last 17 minutes, evening is upon us. You should have a beautiful coloring on your salmon. You should have a nice spring and a give to it when you press on it. Now just remove it and let it cool for about 20 minutes or so. In the meantime, go prepare some crackers and cheese to go along with it because this is going to be incredible. DIY smoked salmon sans the smoker. Follow the tips and the tricks that our good friend Billy Smith laid out for us. And remember, these are just guideposts along the way to Smokesville. So enjoy the process, experiment, have fun, and most importantly, stay wild. It's incredible.